Hey everybody, welcome to another deep dive. And this time I think it's safe to say we're going deep into the world of AI.
Yeah, definitely looks like that based on all the stuff you've pulled together from AI today. No shortage of articles about artificial intelligence here.
No kidding. And the stuff you've picked out is really focused on what's happening like right now, like this minute.
Yeah, a lot of it was about the breakthroughs that are already changing the game.
Okay, well, let's just jump right in then. One that really caught my eye was about this Willow chip that Google's developed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've all heard the hype about quantum computing, right? But this seems like a pretty big deal.
It is. It really is. I mean, one of the things that you flagged from one of these articles said that Willow could simulate like a complex molecule in seconds.
Seconds.
Yeah, seconds.
Yeah.
Something that would take our best supercomputers decades to do.
Whoa. Okay, but what does that even mean? Yeah, for regular people, like what does that actually translate to?
Well, think about things like drug discovery. Imagine, being able to test thousands of potential treatments in the time it takes to make a cup of coffee.
That's insane.
That's the kind of speed we're talking about.
So there's not even that, it's just faster. They're doing things that like regular computers just can't.
Right. They're playing by a whole different set of rules, basically. They tap into this like really bizarre world of quantum mechanics where things can be in multiple states at the same time.
My brain is already hurting a little bit,
Yeah, it's a lot.
but it sounds incredibly powerful. Like what else could you use this kind of computing power for?
I mean, the applications are pretty much limitless.
Yeah.
Everything from like designing new materials that have never existed before to like understanding the universe in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
So we could potentially solve like some of humanity's biggest challenges using this.
Potentially, yes. I mean, it really does feel like we're kind of on the verge of this whole new era of discovery and advancement.
All right, so that's quantum AI.
Mm.
Another thing that you pointed out was this AI that can create videos. OpenAI's Sora. Like you tell it what you want to see, and it just makes it happen.
Yeah, and not just, simple videos either. We're talking about like high quality, realistic video. Like
Yeah.
it was shot with professional equipment.
Yeah, I saw some examples online, and it just like blew my mind. How is this even possible?
Well, it all comes down to training these models on like massive amounts of data, text and video.
Yeah.
So Sora has basically learned to associate words with visual concepts and can then generate, video sequences that match.
So it's kind of like if you were teaching a kid to draw there.
Mm.
You show them like thousands of pictures,
Yeah.
and then you ask them to create something new based on what they've
That
learned.
has a great analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
And just like a kid, Sora is constantly learning and improving as the technology develops and those training data sets grow. We can expect even more realistic and creative output.
One of the articles you sent mentioned filmmakers using it to create entire scenes without needing actors or sets.
I know, it's incredible, isn't it?
It's wild.
The possibilities for, independent filmmakers, educators, even just you and me, it's endless.
It makes you wonder if it could like democratize filmmaking almost. Could anyone with a good story idea just make a movie now?
It's a real possibility,
Yeah.
Of course, with any new technology, you have to think about the challenges and potential downsides too, right?
Right. Speaking of challenges, let's talk about jobs. You flagged this article about a company that's automating a ton of positions, and it's understandable to feel anxious about that,
Oh, for sure.
especially in today's world.
But the expert in the article, makes a really good point that AI is also going to create new roles.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about job loss as much as it is about job transformation.
Right. So maybe instead of panicking, everybody should be thinking about how to adapt and prepare for this, this kind of shift in the market.
Exactly. The question for all of us is what skills will be most valuable in this new world? And how can we, start developing those skills now?
That's a really good point. I mean, it's not like we can just ignore this and hope it goes away.
Yeah.
AI is here to stay.
Yeah.
It's only going to become more and more, integrated into our lives.
Absolutely. Which is why I think it's so important to be having, these kinds of conversations right now. We need to be proactive, not reactive.
Well said. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about AI safety. One of the articles you sent kind of brought up this scary possibility of like a self-driving car,
Yeah.
making a mistake
Oh, yeah.
with real-world consequences.
That's a valid concern, and it really highlights why AI safety is such a crucial area of research. We need to make sure that these systems are reliable, predictable, operate within clearly defined boundaries.
Yeah. It's like we're giving these systems a lot of power, right?
Yeah.
We need to make sure they're not going to go rogue.
Exactly. And it's not just about preventing accidents either. It's also about making sure that they're fair, unbiased, and that they don't cause harm intentionally or unintentionally.
So how do we even begin to address that? I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds so complex.
It is complex, but there are a lot of really brilliant people working on it. Researchers are developing stricter testing protocols, incorporating ethical considerations into the design of these systems, exploring ways to make them more transparent and accountable.
Sounds like it's going to take a lot of collaboration and careful planning to get this right.
It will. And it's not just the responsibility of the researchers and the engineers either.
Yeah.
It's going to require like a real societal conversation about what we want from AI and how we make sure it's developed responsibly.
Yeah. Okay, that's a lot to digest.
It is.
And we haven't even gotten to this idea of AI helping us become a type 1 civilization. But I think we need to pause here for a second and let all this sink in for a bit.
Probably a good idea. We've covered some pretty heavy stuff so
Yeah.
far.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around this whole quantum computing thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that these quantum computers use qubits instead of regular bits.
Right.
So what's so special about qubits?
Well, the thing about qubits is they can be in multiple states at the same time. Unlike, a regular bit, which can only be a 0 or a 1.
Okay, so it's not just about being faster. It's a totally different way of processing information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this superposition, is what they call it, allows quantum computers to do multiple calculations at the same time, which leads to these, insane speed-ups that we were talking about.
Oh, okay. One of the articles mentioned that this could have huge implications for things like financial modeling.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine being able to analyze market trends and make predictions in real time. I mean, it could completely change the way we invest and manage risk.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about quantum AI. We've talked about AI that can create videos. Let's go back to Sora for a minute. There's something I'm still not quite getting. How does it know what to create based on just a few words?
It's all about pattern recognition.
That-
Sora has been trained on these massive data sets of, text and video, and it's basically learned to identify the relationships between words and visual concepts.
So it's almost like it's developed its own visual language or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And as it's exposed to more and more data, its understanding of that language becomes more and more sophisticated.
One thing that keeps coming up in these articles is the potential for misuse. What's to stop somebody from using Sora to create fake news or propaganda?
That's definitely a legitimate concern, and it really underscores the need for, clear ethical guidelines and safeguards as this technology becomes more and more powerful and accessible.
Yeah, it feels like we're kind of entering this uncharted territory here. We're creating these incredible tools, but we're also wrestling with these potential consequences.
Yeah, that's kind of the paradox of, technological advancement, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We're constantly pushing the limits of what's possible, but we always have to think about the potential downsides.
Right. Speaking of pushing back, one of the articles described it as a civilization that can harness all the energy on its planet.
It's such a cool idea, and it really captures the potential for AI to transform not just our lives, but our entire, relationship with the planet.
Imagine a world where we could actually solve climate change,
Yeah.
eliminate poverty, create a truly sustainable future.
I know it sounds like science fiction, but the technology to achieve at least some of those things is, within reach. The missing piece is really the collective will and global cooperation to make it happen.
Do you think AI could actually help us bridge that gap?
I think it has the potential to, AI can help us analyze complex systems, identify solutions that we might miss, and facilitate collaboration on a global scale.
Okay, but let's be realistic here. There are risks too, right? What's to stop AI from becoming too powerful or from being used for bad stuff?
Those are definitely valid concerns, and that's why it's so crucial to be having these conversations, now. We need to be thinking about how to design and develop AI in a way that aligns with human values and goals.
That's like we're writing a whole new social contract for the age of AI.
Exactly. And it needs to be a contract that's inclusive, transparent, and accountable.
Yeah, it can't just be, a small group of experts deciding the future of this stuff. It needs to be a conversation that everyone's involved in.
I completely agree. The future of AI is not set in stone. It's something that we're all creating together, whether we realize it or not.
Okay, there's one more thing from AI today that I thought was really interesting. They were talking about how quantum AI could potentially revolutionize the way we understand the human brain.
Oh, yeah, that's an area of research that I'm super excited about. Imagine being able to map brain activity in real time with a level of detail that's just unimaginable right now.
What could that mean for treating neurological disorders or even understanding consciousness?
The possibilities are mind blowing. We could unlock the secrets of how the brain works, develop treatments for diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, maybe even enhance human cognition.
Wow, it sounds like we're on the cusp of some seriously groundbreaking discoveries here.
We are, but it's also important to remember that, with great power comes great responsibility. As we develop these technologies, we need to be mindful of the ethical implications and ensure that they're used for good.
That's such a powerful message. It's a good reminder that AI isn't just about technological advancement. It's about what we choose to do with it.
Exactly. AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. The choice is ultimately ours.
Well, this has been quite a journey. We've covered so much ground, from the potential of quantum computing to, the ethical challenges of AI.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I know. But I think we need to take another quick break here and let all this info sink in. We'll be back in a few minutes to wrap up our deep dive and share some final thoughts. Okay, we're back. And I gotta say, my head is still spinning after all that.
I know, right? It's pretty mind-blowing stuff. We've covered quantum computers that can simulate like a complex molecule in seconds to AI that can just create videos from a few words. Like it's science fiction coming to life right in front of us.
It really is. And it makes you think about how fast things are changing. So as we wrap up this deep dive into AI today, what are some of the big takeaways that our listeners should be thinking about?
I think the most important one is that AI isn't some futuristic thing anymore. It's here, it's changing super fast, and it's going to have a massive impact on like almost every part of our lives.
So it's not even a question of if AI is going to change the world, but how.
Exactly, which is why it's so important for all of us to be, informed and part of the conversation about AI's future.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
What can our listeners actually do to get ready for this AI-driven future?
Well, the first thing I would say is just stay curious. Keep learning about AI, what it can do, what it can't do, how it might affect society. There's so much out there to learn from books, articles, documentaries, online courses. I mean, you name it.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask questions. The more we understand about AI, the better we'll be able to handle all these changes that are coming.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the technical stuff either. It's about actually being involved in shaping AI's future.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, we all have a say in this. We can talk to our elected officials, support groups working on responsible AI, and push for policies that make sure AI is used ethically and fairly.
That's a good point. It's easy to feel powerless when technology is changing so quickly, but we actually can make a difference.
Right. And remember, AI is just a tool. It's up to us to decide how to use it, what values we put into it, and what kind of world we build with it.
That's a pretty powerful thought. It's not about being scared of AI. It's about seeing its potential while also being aware of the risks.
I think that's right. As we move into this new era of AI, it's important to stay curious, stay engaged, and never stop asking questions.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's about it for our deep dive into the world of AI. It's been a wild ride, and I hope everyone learned a lot.
It's been a pleasure. And remember, the future's being written right now, and we can all help write it.
That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. See you next time for another deep dive into the topics that matter to you.